Hall of Famer Charles Barkley from NBA on TNT, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Charles?
What's up, my brother? How you doing?
Better for chatting with you.
Hey.
Better for chatting with you.
Listen, I heard the little conversation. That lets you know how asinine some of these gamblers are, and I'm one of them.
I was going to say, Chuck, you're among us.
No, I mean, I love to gamble, but there's no way you could have the odds set for the NBA right now. You're just trying to get some suckers on. That's all you could be doing. I mean, let's take a team like the Milwaukee Bucks. I think everybody in their team is a free agent. Even if you love Giannis, you got no idea who's going to be his teammates next year.
None.
So you couldn't even take the Milwaukee Bucks right now. I mean, I think I saw a list. I think they got 8 guys on their team that are free agents. So you couldn't even take them if you like them. You got no idea what's going to happen with the Celtics with Kyrie. You have no idea what's going to happen with Toronto or the Lakers, and especially the Knicks and the Clippers. I mean, so I think they're just trying to get a bunch of suckers to bet those bets.
Well, I mean, even if you take a look, even if we did just spend one last second on it, how do you give the Lakers better odds than the Clippers? I understand that LeBron is LeBron and he's still LeBron, but I mean, you want to look at the entirety of everything.
No, right? But I think they think well, first of all, we are suckers because we gamble all the time. But I think they want you to say, oh, the Lakers are going to get somebody. The Clippers going to get somebody. Mm-hmm. That's all they could be guessing on. I mean, seriously. And they want you to put some money on it. But like I say, right now, the Lakers aren't going to be any good unless they make a trade. And the Clippers, they were the number 8 seed for a reason. If they don't get one of these free agents, they're not going to be any good. That's what's going to be really fascinating about this summer. All these teams, instead of doing their job like Masai Ujiri, drafting well and getting your players better and making a trade, all these teams put their money in, let's try to poach somebody's free agents in the off season. And it's going to be really funny when all these teams have all this money and they sitting around like idiots and they don't get those free agents. And I'm just going to be laughing at them and their fan base because I don't think that's a good way to win. Just try to suck as a team, clear cap space, and hopefully I can get 2 big-time free agents. That to me is not a good business plan.
Well, Charles, if I'm Daryl Morey and I watched what happened again, it's just unbelievable that both Durant and Clay are now big question marks for next season. Wouldn't you just stay pat? Would you just stay with what you currently have in Houston?
No,
Charles?
I would not because, listen, I still believe that if I had to pick a team right now that I would say that's going to be good, it'd be the Portland Trail Blazers. They let me down obviously against Golden State, but when they get Nurkic back next year, if they're able to keep Cantor and Hood, they got one of the most talented teams in the NBA. When the Blazers went out and got Cantor and Rodney Hood, I picked them to come out of the West, and I was wrong, obviously, but. They look right now. The Denver Nuggets they're right there. I mean, I think Portland just right now. Listen, Clay and Kevin probably not going to play next year. There's the outside because what people got to understand, we're 2 months past the regular season. When they're talking about they'll be back for next season, this ain't like they got hurt in the middle of the season. They could come back. We're already 2 months past the regular season. So you have to factor that in. So right now on paper, the Portland Trail Blazers, hey, let me tell you something. If Anthony Davis stays in New Orleans, you give me Zion, Anthony Davis, Drew Holiday, Randall, you pretty damn good yourself.
Well, it doesn't seem, Charles Barkley here on the Rich Eisen Show, it just does. It seems that Davis wants no part of it. His agent can't there's not enough human beings for Rich Paul to tell that Anthony Davis wants to go to the Lakers or potentially the Knicks.
Well, he's trying to bail out LeBron. LeBron went to a bad situation with the Lakers, and he's trying to get one of his clients to go there. I mean, that's very simple. Rich is a good guy, but they're trying to force the NBA like, no, because nobody's going there. I mean, they're such a dysfunctional organization, and he don't want LeBron to waste the last 3 or 4 years of his career. And he's trying to force New Orleans to trade one of his clutch players to the Lakers. That I understand that. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with agents telling people where their players need to go. I think as an agent, you can say, hey, my player want to be traded. But we ain't got to the point now where agents will say, no, my player's got to go to a certain team or he's going to play for 1 year. I don't remember that happening ever in the NBA. I know players have always requested trades. We've never got to the point where certain guys had so much power that they could dictate where they were traded to.
So if you're Danny Ainge, would you still just go for it with Anthony Davis, seeing obviously Paul George sticking in Oklahoma City? They're picking confetti out of their hair in Toronto with Kawhi going there, and that was a huge, huge trade and gamble by Masai Ujiri. Would you, if you're Ainge, go for it with Anthony Davis?
I would not, because if you lose Kyrie and give up all your players for Anthony Davis and he doesn't stay, your team's going to be set back for the next 10 years. And I think that Masai Ujiri, we got to take our hat off to that man. One of the most gutsy things I've seen in sports. He could have kept DeMar DeRozan and win 50 games and kept his job for another, 5 to 10, 15, 20, as long as he wanted it. Because they were going to be a good, solid team. He rolled the dice. He went for the championship. Obviously, it worked. Fired the coach of the year. One of the gutsiest things I've seen in my NBA in my 30-some years. Because, Rich, if this thing does not work out, we're killing Masai.
Mm-hmm.
All these people who I always tell people, all these people who be patting you on the back when things are going well, there's only about 6 inches for them kicking you in your ass when things go bad. And for him to pull the trigger on that trade, and like I say, then he fired a coach of the year, which I didn't think was fair at the time, I got to admit.
Yep.
And listen, I don't think it was all Casey's fault. But when you get a chance to get a superstar instead of an all-star, there's a big difference. Kawhi Leonard, he's, in my opinion, and like I say, it's a debatable thing, he's in the conversation as the best basketball player in the world. Him, KD before he got hurt, obviously LeBron and Giannis. But this run, other than Dirk Nowitzki, I think this is, and obviously Michael Jordan, this is one of the greatest runs we've ever had in the NBA. I mean, because you look what Dirk Nowitzki did, beating the Heat, but I'm not sure there's going to be a lot of Hall of Famers on that team. And I'm pretty sure there's not going to be a lot of Hall of Famers on this Raptors team. They're all good players, don't get me wrong. But what Kawhi did for that team, it was just an incredible 2-month run, plain and simple.
So ask the poll question to Charles. Go for it, Chris Brockman.
Charles, what would you do if you're Kawhi in free agency? Leave Toronto or stay?
I'd stay in Toronto because, number one, I got arguably, no disrespect to Sam Presti and R.C. Buford, I might have the best GM in basketball. I saw that stat, which let me know how great Masai Ujiri is. They have no player on their team winning the top 14. So if you're drafting late and getting good quality NBA players, I mean, obviously you got a great scouting system, but to get that many good players, R.C. Buford going out and getting Ginobili and Parker late in the first round and second round, 2 guys who are probably going to be in the Hall of Fame, you got to know what you're doing. But for Masai to get all those players who are drafted late, make the trade for Kawhi, and don't forget Marc Gasol. He got the best general manager. I don't think they're going to stand pat. And then the last and the most important thing, he owns a country.
He does.
He owns a country. And I don't know if you've been paying attention, they got that Kawhi and Dine thing going up there.
He could eat for free.
He can eat it, and it's on every restaurant. I've been in Toronto for the last probably month. That Kawhi and Dine thing is on pretty much every single restaurant. And then when I was up there last week, somebody offered him like a $3 million penthouse.
Yes, right. Yeah, right.
So I'm thinking like, hey, if I can eat everywhere for free,
And live.
Because you know what's interesting about this free agent thing?
Mm-hmm.
There's only two players that's going to make your team better. Kawhi Leonard and Kevin Durant. Those were the only two players. Those other guys are good little players. But if you get one of those other guys, it don't mean anything. So I think what's going to be fascinating this whole summer is, wait, if we don't get Kawhi or KD, we ain't going to be a lot better. We're just going to be paying some guys who are good players. We're going to be really stuck in the same boat. We ain't going to be contenders. So that's the thing that with the injury to KD, depending on what he does, and now he probably out for next year too. But if you don't get at least two of these guys, and especially Kawhi and KD, which now since he's hurt, that changes that dynamic, your team ain't going to be a lot better. I mean, you might win a couple more games, but you ain't going to be a contender.
So if Philly had a Chowine and dine, would you have ever left Philadelphia, Charles?
Listen, some of them guys they had playing me, I thought about starving. I'd rather starve to death than play with some of them guys they had me playing with.
Oh, come on.
Listen, Philly's the only organization in the world. We had the number one pick in the draft. And we all went out celebrating the night before because I know I cannot wait to play with Brad Daugherty. There's good times ahead for Chuck. I am good. I'm in my prime. I think I was in my third or fourth year when I was just becoming a star. I'm like, I got Brad Daugherty for the next 10 years. We go out celebrating. I get a phone call at 6 o'clock in the morning from the late, great Phil Jackson saying, Charles, I'm like, Phil, it's a little early, don't you think? He says, well, I'm going to talk to you about the trade. I said, what trade? He said, the Sixers traded the number one pick in the draft. I says, Phil, the 76ers are not that stupid. They're not total morons. Me and Brad Daugherty together for the next 10 years, I like our chances. And they're like, no, they traded it. I said, Phil, let me call you back in an hour. Let me go take a shower and sober up. I called Phil back an hour later. He says, Phil, were you serious? He said, yeah. And he said, not only that, they traded Moses to Washington because Moses was my mentor. He made me lose 50 pounds. I thought he would have been great for Brad Daugherty. He ended up playing like another 5 or 6 years. He would have been a great backup. And they traded him to D.C. for Jeff Ruland, who I never played with because he was hurt. And then they traded, obviously, Brad, who had a hell of a career, to Cleveland. And I got Roy Henson, who's a nice guy and a friend of mine, but he was no Brad Daugherty. And I just toiled the next 5 or 6 years like a loser. And so, no, I would have starved to death to get the hell out of Philly.
Oh, you're the best, Charles. Before I let you go, I always love asking you when you come on a question outside of the NBA, and you're the perfect person to ask this question about with the U.S. women's national team being criticized for either running up the score or celebrating too much. You and the Dream Team were absolutely in the maelstrom of beating up on Angola by 68 back in the day. What did you think of this conversation that's been had over the last 24, 48 hours, Charles?
Well, I thought it was interesting because you see the women took the side of turning it into women against men, and I hate that. When you have a conversation, you have to take your own personality out of it. You hear, because every woman I heard, well, what y'all said the same thing as men were celebrating like that. So I hated the argument because they made it gender. I think when you're playing against a team and you beat them like that, you really have to be like, listen, when we were up 40, 50, 60 points on those teams, we started talking about, hey, let's relax, just play the game, don't go overboard. Obviously we're going to win these games. But I think when you're up 8-0, you got to chill. When you're up 9-0, you got to chill. Mm-hmm. When you're up 10-0, you got to chill. I mean, so that was like I say, I'm never going to criticize those women because they are fantastic. But, man, when you're beating the hell out of somebody like that, and listen, I am surprised, I got to admit, because I have put out bounties in the NBA on guys when we were down 25 and somebody shot a three. I said, hey, knock the hell out of that SOB. Dinner's on me. hit him as hard as you can. If he goes up for a three, go under his legs. I've always said that, and I'm never going to change. I was surprised those girls from Thailand didn't knock the hell out of one of those girls. When you're up 7, 8, 9, I wouldn't have had a problem with one of them girls from Thailand just knocking the hell out of somebody. I'm not going to lie.
I guess they couldn't catch up to him, though, Charles.
Well, you have to learn how to do that stuff. Like one time, Greg Anthony hit Kevin Johnson, and I said, I got it. I said, run this play. You can set it up. And I knocked the hell out of Greg Anthony. And Greg is a great friend of mine. I work with him today, but I'm not going to let him bother Kevin Johnson. So he hit Kevin Johnson. I said, hey, run this play right here. So he's not going to come and see me coming from the backside. And I tried to break his ribs. And I told Greg, you don't bother KJ. He's with me. And he understood that. And I'm saying, I mean, that's the way this thing works.
That's a real talk. That's why I love watching you, Shaq. Another great season with you, Shaq, Kenny, and Ernie, Charles.
Well, Ernie's the best in the business. He won another Emmy. The show won another Emmy.
It's amazing.
Shout out to all the people who work behind the scenes. You great, Rich. You know, you get the money, and I get the money. Thank God. But the people behind the scenes work twice as hard as we do, and we're very lucky to have a great group at Turner, and you have a great group on your show.
Thank you, Charles. And I feel the same way about you. And, again, the conversations you have, they're real, and they're fun, and they're funny. And I just wanted to get you on as the end of the season and say, great season. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, my brother. You take care of yourself. Hey, and tell the boss, Susie, I said hello.
Oh, I will do that, Charles. You take care. Thanks for doing that. Take care. Okay, that's Charles.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.